Hello there, it's Jan here from JB Crafts, and I'm back today with another video tutorial for you. So a little bit of construction again today, and I've just made another little gift bag to add to the collection that I'm building here on YouTube. So I love making this kind of thing to gift, you know, little bits and pieces in, even if it's only a few sweets or candies, whether it's actually a wrapped gift or popping tissue paper in. But yeah, a really simple one can be made from a piece of A4 card, and then I've delved into my scrap stash to find pieces. The only full-size piece that I used was for cutting out the shapes for here. So this was actually a piece from a paper pad, an old paper pad, and I've just cut literally into the middle of it here so that I can save this and use this as a background panel. Obviously with the matte layer on, it's going to cover up the gap. So that was the only full piece. The rest of the pieces were all little scraps. So a little bit of stamping, a little bit of colouring with my alcohol markers, and I've got that already done. And yeah, I'll show you how I've popped this together, so stay with me and we'll get into the actual tutorial. We'll pop that to one side, and I'm just going to bring in my main piece of cardstock to get started. This is actually a piece of ivory card today, and it's not quite a 300 GSM, it's about 250, which is great for this because there is a little bit of scoring and folding to do, and we've got some sort of doubling up elements. So this is actually folded in and is double on the sides of the bag here, and then it creates that little box inside there which you can pop your gift in. I haven't put a closure on here, but you can actually pop a little glue dot in the top, or you can put a little peg on it. You could actually tie the ribbons closed. Lots of ways of actually closing it, but I would be putting a gift in here and stuffing a little bit of tissue, I think, in the top just to disguise it there. So to start off with then, I've just cut this down from an A4 sheet, so it needs to be 10 3/4 inches on the long side by 7 3/4 inches on that short side there. So I'll just take my little sticky note away there, and then I'm going to bring in my scoreboard. That's the next job, and we're going to score and burnish all the folds in there. So nice simple scoring today. So I'm going to pop it in first of all on that short side, and I am going to score at 1.5 inches all the way down that vertical length, and then I'm going to flip it round and I'm going to do the same at this side at 1.5 inches. So 2 vertical score lines down there. Then I'm going to turn it onto that long side here, and I'm going to score at 4 3/4 of an inch top to bottom, and then flip it all the way around and score at 4 3/4 again. Simple as that. Just 4 score lines, that's all we actually need. And then I'm going to do a little bit of folding and burnishing just so that you can see those lines a bit better. But you should end up with a 1.5 inch column across the top, across the bottom here, and then you've got that little bit underneath here. So this is actually going to become the back, the base and the front of the bag, and these bits will fold in to fold that little box, create that box inside. So all I'm going to do then is fold these across now and make sure that they are nice and straight. Make sure that these actually fold against that edge nice and straight, and then I'm going to do the same on the other long edge here. So just get that folded in and make sure, as I say, that it lines up on the edge nicely, and then burnish those lines in well, because these are actually going to remain folded in when we finish the bag off. And then I'm going to turn it onto the short side, and we'll do the same here. Again, just making sure when I fold it together that everything runs nice and parallel. And then we've got that last score line, and this is going to create the base of the box here and get that burnished in place. Okay, so the idea is that we're going to do a little bit of more folding on here, but you've got the basic of the bag here with the front and the back and the base. This is going to fold in to create the sides. So there's a little bit more scoring to do here, but I'm not going to do it on my scoreboard. I'm actually going to bring in my mat that I use for shaping my flowers just to do this, or if you have a stamping mat, anything like that. And just before I actually bring that in, I'm going to add some markings on my the sides of my panel. If I can find my ruler, which is currently hiding from me. There we go. And a pencil there. And what you want to do is from the fold line here, you're going to measure up 1.5 inches and pop a little mark on there. And then I'm going to join that mark from here to where that score line bisects. So this was the 1.5 inch score line. This was 1.5 inches up, and you're going from inside to outside. And then I've done exactly the same on this side. So 1.5 inches up from that bottom edge, and then I'm going to go from that inside corner here that the score line's created up to my mark here. And these will become score lines. I'm just popping these in to show you where we're actually going to score. And then I'm going to do the same. So I'm going to fold it back onto this side. I've come up here 1.5 inches, and we're going to score down here. So just by popping those pencil lines in, it shows you exactly where those score lines need to be. And then that last one, exactly the same, like so. And then what I do is I usually take my score tool, and that's why I like to have the little mat underneath. And I'm just going to pop these in now as a score line. So exactly where I've put those pencil lines, we're going to pop a score line in each of those corners, and this will help us fold that little bag into place. So again, just line it up, take time to get it nice and straight. It's worth popping the pencil line in so that you can see where you need to score. Pop that one along here, and then popping the mat under it just gives it a little bit of pressure and somewhere for that score line to go. If you do it on a flat surface, you're just going to get sort of not a very deep groove. So I find that by having something soft underneath it, you get a little bit more chance to put the score line in place there. So that's all we need to do for that one. Pop that out of the way. And then what we're actually going to do is we're going to fold these on the inside. So where we've got that score line now, I'm just going to tease it into the inside there. And the same here, just tease it in. Okay. And you want to make sure it goes right down to the point, but we can do that better when we get to actually fold it in. So it's coming onto the inside like so. Okay. Easiest way to show you on camera. So I've got the centre bit here, and I'm just folding it up so that it all runs nice and parallel. And the score line inside here should run level with the score line on that one. In fact, no, you've done it the wrong way, Jan. I need to come in, not out. So right, I'm going to fold it in. I thought it didn't look right then. And then it's going to go back on itself. That's right. So this edge here runs nice and parallel. And then all I'm going to do when I've got that in place is give that a really good burnish in place now. So I'll show you that again. So we're going to fold the 1.5 inch piece in, and then we're actually going to bring this bit back on itself so that you've got that one running parallel with that outside edge, and burnish that in really well. Get right into that corner. Same again here, we're going to bring this one in, okay, and this one up, and again get that burnished in place, and then last one side in and the triangle up towards the outside edge. So that creates the sides of that nice little box here. You can see that forming, and when we bring the rest of the box together, it secures that inside, and then we will actually stick these pieces down in due course. Okay, so I just want to make another couple of little marks on here before I actually put on any of this together. So on the either of these square edges, so it doesn't matter whether it's the back or the front, I tend to work on the back. I'm just going to come in this inside panel here. So this is the 4 3/4 inch one, and I come up about 3/8 of an inch, and I'm going to mark it at 1 inch, and I'm going to mark it at 1 inch in from this edge, which is 3 3/4. So that's going to be where I pop the holes for the ribbons to go through, and we'll do that when we've started popping things together. So I think that's all of the scoring and measuring and folding done now. So we need to add a little bit of tape in places. And the first bit I'm going to do is I'm going to use some of my double-sided tape here, purely because it gives me a really nice, good finish here. You can use wet glue. And normally I do use a lot of wet glue, but obviously this is something that I want to have a really good stick quickly with. So when I actually put this together and show you how it fits together, I want it to actually stick straight away, which is why I'm going to put the tape in. So I'm going from the top of that diagonal score line that we made here in this corner, right up to the outside edge of our bag on all 4 sides. And eventually we're going to stick these pieces in and secure them on the inside here. So this bit, the triangle, the base and the triangle, should all be free so that it actually comes and forms the edge of that little box. And then the other thing I'm going to do, so that was on the inside of the workings here, and then I'm going to flip it to the outside, and this time I'm actually going to switch to my red line tape purely because it's a little bit stronger. And I'm just going to cut 4 sort of small pieces ish. They're about ½ inch or so long, and we're going to use these to secure those edge pieces. Just pop that back in there. So this is actually going to fold in and stick together here like so to create a nice right angle here. So what I want to do is put my tape nice and flat. So I'm going to run it parallel with the score line and up to that outside edge, and I'm going to do that in all 4 of those corners so that when this pops together we're going to get a nice seal in here. So this is on the front, on the outside of the box. So I'm going to do the same at this side here, like so, and then just make sure that those are burnished down nicely. Get all the air bubbles out of the tape because you want this to remain stuck together. Okay, so it's starting to look okay now. We've got this bit ready to fold in and stick together when we're good to go. I'm going to pop my holes in at some point, and then we're going to do I'm going to do the decoration while it's flat. I much prefer to decorate anything like this while it's flat. So I'm going to work on this piece here, all right, which is going to be my front. All right, so this is the front, and then this will be the reverse of it at the back. So on the front here, I just chose some decoration. You know, you can go for whatever you wish here. I've got a background piece, I've got a decorative element, a couple of mats and layers, and then my chosen image on here. So this can be absolutely anything that you want. So for my background pieces then, I've got a pattern piece, again just from a paper pad, and this measures 4.5 inches square, and this is going to sit inside here like so. So we'll get that one stuck down straight away. I've edged all my pieces with my distress ink. So when I want anything to look a little bit more sort of vintagey, it's always the vintage photo with my sponge applicator there. So all the edges of the pieces have been done. You can just see how it lifts it away from that cream background there. And I'm going to use my all-purpose glue here to get this stuck down. So just on the back, and then that's just going to sit nicely in there with a little tiny border all the way round. So that's our first layer, and then I've cut some border pieces, and this is a really old die. They're actually Spellbinders dies, and I've had these for years. They were some of the very first sets that I bought when I first started crafting many moons ago. And this one's called Fleur de Lis, and I still love it to this day. There is a smaller one and a little tiny one, which is almost like a postage stamp size in the middle. So what I did, this is where this piece of paper came in here. I've actually cut them both together, And I deliberately cut them in the center of here, like I said, so that I can use this as a matte layer on something else with a, another square over the top. It's not going to be apparent that the middle's missing. And you get the outside frame here that I've got on the project, and then this is the smaller one that cut directly from in the middle here. So those are my dies. Just pop those to one side for a second. Where we put you down there. And I'm going to use the smaller one for the back of the little gift bag. This is actually going to go on the back here to create somewhere to write a little note or a message. So I'll leave that one to one side for a second. This one's going to go onto here next, and just because I can get to it a little bit easier, I'm going to bring in my fine tip applicator for this one. So this has got acrylic glue in. You can still use the all-purpose glue. It's just that it does tend to come out a little bit quick. So I'm going to bring in that fine tip applicator. So we can pop some glue around the edge here. And then I'm just going to put it in certain places on this outside to make sure that it's secure. So just a couple of places, just so that it's stuck down. I'm not worried about every single edge being secure. And then we'll turn that over, and I'm going to pop this right in the center of that piece here. So just line it up. And I'm just looking at these corner pieces here, and we'll get that one stuck down as well. And we're going to cover the center, which is why I wasn't too worried about cutting my other piece out of it there. And then I've got a couple of matte layers for the top. So I chose the green, which matched my ribbon nicely, and the colours that I'd picked in my image that I'd coloured in. So I've got a little piece of green here, which measures 3 1/8 of an inch square. That is going to go over the top there and disguise the fact that the middle's missing. And then I've actually got a 3 by 3 inch square, and this is the same cream card that I made the actual bag background from, and this is going to sit on top of here. But just before I pop those together, I want to add a little bit of extra decoration to this panel here, and to do that I'm just going to use some of my washi tape. I've got an endless supply of washi, and I've marked across where I want this to sit. So I'm literally just going to line this up with the pencil marks and pop a piece across the middle there. And I'm going to tuck those edges around the back. You can cut them off if you wish, but I'm just going to tuck them round the back and reinforce that ink on the edges there. And then we can pop these two together as well. Okay, so pop the lid on that one. And because I've got that bigger area again, we're going to go with the all-purpose glue. I'm going to pop these two together and then add those to the front of my bag. So that one first. It's got a tiny little 1/16 of an inch border all the way around the edge, just so that there's a little bit of that green showing there. And then I'm going to add glue to this one. And we're going to pop that over that central portion of the gift bag here. Cover up that little gap, and that just nestles nicely inside that inside square of the die cut there. So that's my background piece in place. I'm just going to leave that with the block on there for a second to dry nice and flat. And then I took my stamp set here, which is this one. Again, this is from an old craft box from Crafter's Companion, and I really wish I'd numbered them, but I didn't, so I don't know which ones they've come from, but I just love the little birdhouse. So I've actually stamped that out and coloured it ready. Oops. I've got some ribbon for the handles there, and I also stamped the little birdie out at the bottom. I just thought he was really cute. So this is my birdhouse. I didn't want the leaves at the top, so I've actually just fussy cut around the edge and chopped those bits away because they were a little bit bigger than what I needed for my my image there. And I've used a series of browns. I've used my brown grey blend for my alcohol markers for the background, and I also had a little bit of my earth brown marker for the roof here. So that's the 2 browns. Then I used coral for the flowers. That one's my brush marker. It's the same colour range, but I'll show you with the tri-blends here. Whoops, I'll squash the little birdie. So the coral was for the flowers there, and then I used my green turquoise to colour the leaves in, which was a really nice match to my paper and the ribbon there, which is where that colour scheme sort of came from. I wanted to keep it just, you know, a few, not loads of colours, just a few colours to colour it all in. And I've used the same colours there to colour the little birdie in so that he coordinates nicely with it. And then I've put some foam pads on the back of there ready to go onto my bag front. And then in the centre, you can either cut out the centre here. I knew I wanted my sentiment in here, but I've popped mine up on some foam. So I've just cut a little circle. I've just found a circle die that was the right size for the centre here, and just stamped it again on some scrap. Cut it again on some scrap, sorry, stamp the sentiment, and I've just popped that up on some foam so that there's a little tiny bit of dimension in there. So let's pop those to one side. I'll pop that on in a second, and then we're about ready to do our holes, I think, for the bag before I put any of it together, and I'll show you why. So I'm just going to grab my crocodile. That's my chosen weapon for popping the holes in, and it never seems to pop them out properly. I think it's just well loved. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to go through both layers at the same time, which is why I wanted this one to just start drying so that the glue started curing. So I'm going to fold it up to make sure that this edge runs nice and straight. So I've got the corners together and the top edge straight. And then I'm going to go through from the back on the largest hole here, and I'm going to punch all the way through, which will come through the front of my design, which is why I wanted to get this fastened down first. But I'm not too worried about that. Once the ribbon's in, it'll not be too obvious there. And then I'm going to do the same again, just make sure that it's still all lined up nicely. And then I'm going to come to this side here and do the hole on this one. So I've just centered that little pencil mark that I've made, and we've got our holes ready to put the tape in. Okay, so what I'm going to do is thread my ribbon through, and then I'm going to secure it at the bottom here before we close this so that it secures the ribbon inside and you've got a really nice bond. So I'm going to take some of my dot liner here and just put some down below where I've punched those holes. All right, and then I'm going to come from the front here. Well, this one's the reverse. Make sure that the dots are facing outwards, and then secure it. I've just got about a ½ inch poking through, and then secure it onto those dots there. And then the same at this side. So we're going to pop through from the front here to the back. Make sure that your ribbon is the right way. And then I'm going to, again, just lay this over the dots that we made and secure it into place like so. And then I'm going to flip it round and do the same at this side. So again, we'll put a couple of little bits of the dot runner down, and I'm going to do the same at this side. So I'm going to pop that ribbon through there, and I've got about 8 inches of ribbon at each side here. But again, you know, if you want longer handles in, you can do the longer ones, or you can do shorter ones. My ribbon's misbehaving now. So yeah, about ½ inch or so through the gap there, and then give it a good press into place. And then again, I'm just going to go through the other side here. Make sure that those dots run nicely. So it's actually the outside of the ribbon, or the underneath side, that's showing in here, like so. Okay. So these are going to come together, and you've got the closure, or the carrying handles for the bag here. So now we can actually start and work on closing it all together. So I'm going to work on one side first, and I'm going to take the liner from the red line tape, like so. Being very friendly. And then I'm also going to take off the liner from the double-sided tape that we put inside here. Okay, and then I want to close this over the ribbon. So we'll close this first, making sure that it runs nice and flat. And again, I tend to use the underneath of my bowl folder just to make sure that it's all, I've got some glue on there now, I can feel it sticky. I'll just use one of those bigger ones. Make sure that it's all pressed down flat. And we're going to do the same at this side. So this is going to cover the ribbon and secure it in place. And then I'm going to do the same at this side. We'll do these bits in a second, but it's easier to take the liner off while it's flat than trying to fiddle inside the corners when you've stuck it together. So those two, and then the liner off the double-sided tape there. And then we can do the same at this side, and it just gives a really nice finish inside the bag where you've actually trapped that ribbon inside. So again, I'm going to fold this one in, and because we made sure with all that folding that everything was nice and flush, it should fold together perfectly here on the edge. And then we're going to do the same with this one. And then all I need to do, it's a little bit like making a box now, because this is actually going to fold and run parallel with that edge there, and give that a squeeze. The same at this side. It wants to, you can see exactly where it's trying to sort of fold itself in there. So again, just give it a little squeeze, making sure that these are nice and flush. And the same on that side. And the same on that side. And then what I try to do, which is not very easy to show you on camera, is I'm going to go in again where they've stuck down, and I've just popped my bone folder in there to give it a really good press to make sure that that glue has made contact inside there. And that's our little gift bag pretty much. We've just got the rest of the decoration to do, but you can see you've got that lovely little sort of box in there, which is 4 3/4 across by 1.5 inches, and then all the ribbons secured inside where we folded the little bag in together. So the last thing I'm going to do is take the release paper off my foam squares here, and we're going to add this to the front. I'm just going to hold it with my tweezers and just settle this in the middle, in the centre there. I'm just sort of eyeballing the middle of the design, and we'll get that stuck down. And my little birdie, I just want a little bit of glue. I've popped a couple of foam pads here to make him a bit higher, and I'm going to overlap the edge of the birdhouse as if he's sort of sat on the roof there. And then I've got the 2 small foam pads at the back just to bring it up to the right height, like so. And we'll let those dry. And then on the reverse of here, I've got a couple more pieces. We've got the piece that we cut earlier, and then I've just got a smaller set of mats this time. So this one's 2 1/8 of an inch square in the green again, and then a 2-inch square in the cream, all edged with my ink again. And then I've just got a little, I've got a stamp in my stash that's got the to and from. You don't have to put that on. You could put another greeting. You could leave it blank if you wanted to write a message on there. And all we're going to do is add some glue to the back of here. And I just had this one at the side of me, which is why I've grabbed it. And that one's going to sit right in the centre. So I'm just going to eyeball around about the centre there, so that I've got pretty much the same space going all the way around the edge. And again, you can do this before you put it together if you wish, but this is just a small piece to go on the back. If it was a larger piece, I think I would have done it while it was laid flat. And then that one's designed to just nestle again inside that square there. And that's got my greeting, or where to write my message, on the back there. So you can see that's pretty much finished. If I turn it over, you've got the detail on the front there, you've got your little handles in here, you've got your space inside to pop your gift in. And again, the only thing that I did different on this one was just add a couple of extra gems from my stash just to pick that green out, but other than that they're pretty much the same. So yeah, really nice, simple one, fairly straightforward. I don't think it's too challenging, that one. And again, you could make a series of these. If you were having a party, they could be little party bags and have an appropriate image, or, you know, some decoupage or stickers, anything on the front. You know, if you're not a stamper, it doesn't have to be a stamped image. It can be cut out of something. Like I say, it could be a piece of decoupage. It could be a sticker that you've made into an embellishment. Absolutely anything on the front of there. So oh, excuse me. So yeah, however you want to do it, but I can just envisage, you know, sort of making these and having them as little gift bags. I think they'd look great. Next month I've got some Halloween projects coming up. I think they'd look great in the blacks and the orange and purple for little spooky treats for Halloween. So yeah, hope you've enjoyed it. If you have, consider giving it a thumbs up for me. It does help with the channel, and I'll be back very, very soon with another tutorial for you. So enjoy the rest of your day now, and I'll see you very soon. Bye bye now.